I've kind of taken this talk from the cue from the State of the Union address. Every year, the president has an opportunity to address the nation and called the State of the Union address. And it's a time of just talking about where the country is and where the country's going, that sort of thing. And that's pretty much exactly what this presentation is. It's just a time. It's a time for us to reaffirm what we are as a church, what kind of church we are, maybe where we need to focus or refocus on our mission and our vision and our ministry. It's also a time for us to ask how we are doing with our mission, vision, and ministry, and kind of assess our needs. And a lot of the things that I'm going to talk about today are areas where either myself or the session and myself we've kind of identified these are things that we want to focus on and work on, that we want to do better in these particular areas. So that's what we're going to do, and what I'm going to talk about is our identity, our mission, our values, our leadership, our ministry, our vision, and our needs. Those are the topics. Those are the headings for everything that I'm going to talk about. So first of all, let's talk a little bit about our identity as a church. What kind of church is Northside? Well, there's many things I could say about this, but here's what I've chosen to say. First of all, we are an evangelical church. And what I mean by that, I don't mean anything political by that. I know that term evangelical can refer to a political person. What I mean by that, literally, the word evangelical comes from the Greek word euangelion, which is the word gospel. So in other words, we are a gospel-centered church. What is the gospel? The gospel is the good news about Jesus and what God has done and is doing through Jesus to reconcile the world, to redeem people to himself. That's what our that's the center of our church. That's the engine that makes everything go, is the gospel, the message about Jesus. We are evangelical, which means that's the center of it all. Secondly, we are Reformed and Presbyterian. Now, what I mean by Reformed is our church stands in the tradition of the Protestant Reformation. Presbyterian mostly refers to how our church is governed. Presbyteros is the Greek word for elder in the New Testament. So literally, Presbyterian is a form of church governance. We are governed by a body of elders. Thirdly, we are a contemporary church. So if you look around here, our building, some people don't even know this is a church building. I've been told it's like, that's a church? It doesn't look like a church. Well, that's kind of we want to do that on purpose. We're trying to be up to date, contemporary. We're not a traditional church. We usually have contemporary music. There's some other things that we do that harken back to tradition. We said the Apostles' Creed today. That's an old church tradition. We have a bell choir, which is kind of an old church tradition. So I'm not saying that we forget about tradition in the past, but for the most part, we want to have a contemporary kind of ministry. And my slide just advanced, and I didn't want it to advance. Hang on just a second. Okay, sit back, yeah. All right, and we are egalitarian. So this is a fancy word for saying that we believe that women and men can both be in leadership together. So at this church, we have women serving as elders. That's a part of who we are as a church as well. And that's part of what our denomination is. All of these things that I've listed here are a part of our denominational affiliation and identity as well. So that's kind of what we are as a church. That's our identity. Our mission. We have a specific mission statement that we adopted a couple of years ago. It's to know Jesus and make him known. Very, very simple. We want to be followers of Jesus. We want to be in a relationship with Jesus ourselves, or we can't help anybody else to be. So we want to know Christ. That's the first thing. And we want to help others to know Christ as well. Just to augment that a little bit, another way we can think about our mission is to think about what Jesus said are the two greatest commandments. So here's what Jesus said in Matthew 22. He said, "You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind." That's the first and the greatest commandment, okay? And then Jesus said, the second is like it, you shall love your neighbor as yourself. So another way we could think about the mission of our church, the mission of our church is to love God and love people, because Jesus said those are the two greatest commandments. And then yet another way we could think about mission is the ultimate mission statement, and this doesn't conflict with our mission statement, it just augments it. The Great Commission. Jesus said, "Go therefore and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit, teaching them to observe all that I have commanded you." At the heart of this commission is to make disciples. Make disciples. A disciple is literally a student or a learner following the master teacher. That's what we want to be, and we want to make other people into disciples who follow Jesus. So that is our mission as a church. I've put together a list of 7 things that I will call our values. Our values. Here are some things that I think describe everything that we do as a church. Every activity that we do or endeavor to do comes from one of these values. The first one is to worship. We put God at the center of everything that we do. That's worship. Worship is not just singing songs, by the way. It's everything we do is to honor and serve God. Secondly, discipleship. We follow Jesus. We're becoming more like him. Leadership. We want to raise up people from within our congregation who can lead this congregation, who can feed and serve and guide this particular body of people. Stewardship, which means we manage our time and our talent and our treasure for God's glory. That includes things like our budget, like our building. Mission, we reach out to the world with the gospel. Service, we meet practical needs with compassion and generosity. And fellowship, we build loving relationships and care for one another. Those are our values. Everything that we do falls under one of those values. All right, let's talk about leadership. Our leadership. We have a senior pastor. That's myself, of course. We have people that are on staff. We have a session of elders, and we have deacons. That's how our church is led. So let me talk about each one of these in turn. Staff. So obviously myself, Jeff Ross, our worship pastor, Dan Barr, youth, Amy Barr with Bell Choir, Jill Rabchak is ATC director, and Sue Gale is administrator. Those are all people. Some of these people are paid, some of them are not paid, okay? But those people are designated as staff. And I'll talk more about what staff does in just a second. The session right now is Rick Gale, Jill Israel, Jessica Madeira, Nancy Batterson, Dan Barr, and Larry Buttermore, and myself as moderator, okay? We have deacons. So here's the deacon list. Craig and Jen Wilson, they do missions. Emily Hughes is in charge of the prayer team. Candy Amadio is in charge of kids. Ada she's working kind of with a new ministry that's kind of not developed right now. We're calling it Congregational Life. You'll learn more about that later. Not in this talk, but later. Kathy Nelson does events and hospitality. She's the one that helped us kind of organize everything here today for lunch. Eric Humphrey, safety and security team. That's a developing team. And then Dave Israel, building and grounds. So those are our deacons and what they are responsible for. So let's talk a little bit more about leadership roles. So what is a senior pastor supposed to be doing? What is my job? Well, first of all, is to feed the flock through preaching and teaching. I think that kind of goes without saying, but I'm saying it anyway, that I'm here to be a preacher and a teacher. To administer the sacraments, we had both sacraments today, the Lord's Supper and baptism. To provide pastoral care and guidance to individuals in the church and to the church as a whole, of course, too. And to facilitate the leadership team. So I'm the one that moderates the session. I'm the one who's kind of working to help this church to raise up more and more leaders for this body. So those are some of my roles. The elders in the session basically have oversight of the ministry of the church. So I like the term overseer. That may be a term that you haven't heard before. It's actually a biblical term. It's another word for elder. So elders, the word elder can be Presbyteros kind of means more like a pastor. But there's a shepherding kind of role as well. But there's another word in the New Testament that sometimes actually is translated bishop. Of course, we don't have a bishop, that type of church government, but it means overseer. So it's like someone who is, they're looking around, they know what's going on, they know what's supposed to be done. It's like a supervisor maybe at a manufacturing plant or something like that, someone who's overseeing the work that's done, making sure everybody has their place, making sure all the work's getting done. That's kind of the idea there, oversight. The staff, this is highly skilled, specialized ministry. So we have deacons that have certain jobs to do. We have staff. What's the difference? Well, the staff, the individuals that are on staff are usually paid, not necessarily paid, but those individuals usually have some kind of specific skill that most folks probably don't have. There's not a lot of people that can get up and lead a bell choir or lead us in worship. That's a highly specialized skill. And so that we tend to put those kinds of people on staff, whereas the deacons and the elders, it's more general. It doesn't mean those people are smarter necessarily than everybody else or anything like they're better. It doesn't mean that at all. It just means highly skilled, specialized. And then deacons serve the church and meet needs. Okay? So I hope that makes sense. All right, so our ministry. Let's talk about our ministry. How do we carry out the ministry of the church? So we have this vision, or we have this mission statement. We have these 7 values. That's all well and good. So what do we do to put feet on this? What do we actually do? I like to talk about this in terms of environments. What we're trying to do here at our church is we're trying to create and maintain and attract people into 4 different types of ministry environments, okay? The first one is really, really obvious, Sunday morning church, okay? That's sort of the baseline, right? We have church on Sunday morning. That's our first and biggest environment. That's when we're going to draw the most people in. There's the preaching, there's the worship, and all that on Sunday morning. That's one environment. But we also have smaller groups that meet. I'll talk about them in just a minute. That's another ministry environment. Instead of having like 100 people, you go down to maybe 6 people or 10 people. You go down to a smaller group, and there's different kinds of groups doing different kinds of things. That's another ministry environment. Small groups can have discussions. They can have, you can really get into one another's lives and get to know people in smaller groups. That's kind of the idea. There's also environments of Christian education. And for example, this thing I call Christian University, which I have once a month. That's kind of what we're doing here after church, and we have a class. And I talk about something that probably I could preach about some of those topics that I've shared with you at Christian University, but it's more like a teaching type of environment. Or covenant partnership class. So if someone wants to become a covenant partner, I have a class that you have to go through. So that's a part of the Christian education. Or Sunday school for the kids. So during the sermon, we take the kids and we teach them. Okay, that's Christian education. And this thing keeps advancing on me here. Sorry. And then ATC is basically a form of Christian education. We're bringing kids in, and we're teaching them ABCs, 1, 2, 3s, but we're also teaching them about Jesus. And so that's a ministry environment of the church, ATC. And then finally, the fourth ministry environment are ministry teams. So, and I'll mention these in a minute. We have groups of people doing different kinds of ministry. So those are the 4 environments. Sunday morning, smaller groups, Christian ed opportunities, and ministry teams. Pretty much everything we do as a church it falls under one of those 4 environments, okay? Even like if we were going to do outreach, that would still be like a ministry team that would be getting together and going out, like when we go to Columbus Relief. That's a ministry team getting together, going out and doing something. So there's any number of things that we can do that we can call ministry, even if they're not here at the church. It could be out in the community. So those are the ministry environments. All right, let me talk about our small group ministry for just a moment. I hope everybody's aware of the small groups that meet we would really like to get more groups started. I've started a couple of groups just this past year. We would love to get more groups started in the future, but here's what we've got going on right now. I just want everybody to know this. Sunday mornings at 9 a.m., Vern has a small group that meets right back here in the cry room. Tuesday nights, 6:30 here at the church, Wayne Johnson leads a Bible study group. I started a group that I call Hungry Saints Bible Study, first and third Wednesdays at 7 here at the church. There's Mighty Men, which is a men's group, second and fourth Tuesdays. It's going to start meeting at the Bars House next month, or this month. It's February. It's first today. Some other groups, Wednesday evenings, the first and third weeks, the Kenrise have a group at their place. Rick Gale has a men's breakfast that meets every Friday morning at 7 a.m. at Scramblers up here on State. Sue Gale's been having a women's Bible study. I think they've been on break. They haven't started back up yet, but they've been having that as well. So those are some of our groups. If I miss, there are a couple of groups that meet that are not necessarily open groups, so I didn't list them. So some groups are like, we can only have this many people because then there's no parking or whatever, so they're kind of closed. But those groups are all open, I think, for new members, so that's why I listed them there. All right, so ministry teams. Here are some of the current ministry teams that are doing things around here. If I missed something, I apologize, but this is everybody I think I could think of. There's a missions team, communion prep and communion servers, the worship team, the bell choir. There's an audio, video, lighting, tech, and streaming team, Chris and Blaze back there. Children's ministry, which also includes the nursery and the cry room. Hospitality, events, ushers, and greeters. Meal train, for taking meals of people who can't get out or are sick, or someone just had a baby, they took meals of that person. A benevolence team, building and grounds. Prayer team, the youth group. The Faradine service happens every week over here at 9 o'clock. And then we're developing a safety and security team. I think that's all that I could think of. If there's other things happening that I didn't include, let me know what they are, and I'll put that in my list that I've got on my computer. But that's our ministry teams. Okay, let me give you, Sue Gale is our office administrator. She shared with me some numbers and some statistics that she thought I should share with you. She wanted me to emphasize that we track numbers because that is a way of measuring our spiritual health. It is a reflection of the spiritual health of our church. So we have 80 covenant partners. Our average attendance year to date has been 93. The fiscal year ends on July 31st. Last year, we budgeted $308,000 in offering, and we met that budget. This year is budgeted for the same amount. ATC is very strong. Strong enrollment. Financially, ATC is doing great. This church has no debts. Okay, we do not owe anybody any money. Okay, so those are just some things that Sue shared with me. And here's a little bit of a building and grounds report also, also from Sue. Excuse me just a second. We are in the process of building a shelter house. It's going to go right out here. Plans have been submitted. We've got about 60% of that funded. So that is an ongoing project, okay? That's going to happen this spring, is that we're going to start building that, God willing, okay? We're getting pricing for a playground renovation out here. We actually just got the first bid that came in. We were a little bit shocked by how much it was, but we've got that on the table as well. Eventually that's going to be done. We don't have a timeline yet for that. That's probably going to involve, after we get the shelter house built, we're probably going to have a separate fundraiser for the playground renovation. We don't have a timeline for that yet, but it's coming. We've engaged an interior designer. There's been a team of 3 ladies that have been meeting with an interior designer. We're going to be looking at making some changes to the appearance of the building, doing some things to freshen it up. such as carpet, painting, new cabinets for the kitchen back here. So that is another ongoing project. We don't have a timeline for that yet either, but we've met with that interior designer, and she is putting together some plans for this team to then look at and present to the session at some future date. So that's some building and grounds stuff. All right, now let me get into our vision. What kind of church do we want to be here at Northside? Now I'm going to share some things that I thought up myself that I think all of us share this vision. And then there's 3 specific things that the session has talked about that I'm going to share with you. So first of all, we want to be a relational, casual, family-like atmosphere here at Northside. I think we want to be that kind of church. And I think we are that kind of church, but we definitely want to be that way. We want to have spiritually warm and invigorating worship style. We value that here. That's the kind of church we want. We want to have a culture shaped by Jesus and the gospel. We want to have the kind of church that we have diverse backgrounds, but we're united in Christ. So we want people coming from different perspectives, different walks of life. We want people to be able to come in here who are very different, but yet come and be a part of our fellowship because we're united in Christ. We want to be contemporary, as I've said, but we also want to be biblically faithful. So a contemporary church that's biblically faithful. I think all of us share this. These are things that I thought of. I kind of was like, this is not like a big change. I'm not saying we need to make this huge shift to being these things. I think we already want these things. I think we just need to keep at it. Just keep doing what we're doing in a sense. But that is part of our vision, I think, of what we want to be. What kinds of things do we want to do as a church? I think we want to do hands-on mission and service. We want to be actually going out into the community and doing mission. We want to actually be serving one another and people in our community, not just supporting organizations that do that. I think sometimes in churches, missions and service really basically they just, you write a check to a missionary somewhere. Well, that's fine. We do that. But we want to be a church where we're actually doing mission, whether that be locally or abroad. We want to actually be serving people in our community and in our church, not just writing checks to some organization that does that. We want to be hands-on. We might join an organization like what we do with Columbus Relief. They're an existing organization, but we go there and help them. We don't just write them a check. We do write them a check, but we go there and we help. That's what we want to do as a church. We want more and more people to actually be engaged, involved in ministry and service, both here and in the community. We want loving relationships that attract and enfold easily. We want to be the kind of church where people before programs, okay? We want to be the kind of church that it's easy to come in to this church and to feel welcome and to want to stay, to want to be a part of it. We want that kind of environment. I'm not saying we don't have it. I'm just saying, I'm articulating that is something we definitely want to do and continue to do. We want high levels of involvement and engagement. And what I mean by that is outside of Sunday mornings. We want more people involved in these other ministry environments. We want more people involved in the small groups. We want more people involved in ministry teams. We want that hands-on kind of ministry. We want to activate leaders who facilitate real ministry. So this is something that I have a heart for, because most of the churches that I've been a part of as a pastor, have what is basically a board of elders. And it's kind of that, a board. You meet once a month, you pay the light bill, you look at the budget, you make sure the pastor's doing some work, and that's pretty much it. And what I would like to see happen, and I think what is happening here, is that we have a group of active leaders who are actually overseeing and facilitating the ministry of the church, not just a board that meets once a month and goes over the numbers or that sort of thing. Secondly, ATC is valuable to us. I think all of you know that. The school's doing very well. It's a very valuable outreach and ministry in our community. We have to just, again, I'm not saying we should change anything. I'm saying we should lean into that. We need to find ways to lean into that. That's a success. That's a strength of our church, and we want to continue to use that. Something that I would like to see happening more, and I'll talk about this in more detail in a minute. Mature people influencing younger people. We are starting to have some younger people come to our church. What I would love to see is some intergenerational type of ministry that is happening where those older folks can hang out with those younger folks. I know it's hard to do. I know generations tend not to do that. Even in the church, we tend to separate people out generationally and age group-wise. But I would love to see us thinking about ways that the mature folks can have influence on some of the younger folks that are beginning to come to our church. Speaking of who's coming to our church, who do we want to reach? Now, everybody wants the church to grow, right? Everybody wants the church to be bigger, to have more people. And I get that, and I understand that, and I do too. What I'm going to ask the question is who's missing from church? Where are the opportunities? What kind of people come to Northside? What kind of people don't come to Northside? And maybe this is even a larger question, maybe even for the church, the capital C church. You know, there are certain types of people you kind of expect to see going to church, and there's other types of people you don't expect to see going to church. For example, young adults. If we look around at our church, you don't see many people in their 20s in our church. You don't see very many people in their 20s in any church. There are a few churches in the area that kind of try to get young people activated, and that's fine. But as a whole, demographically in our culture, those are the least likely people to go to church, are young adults, people in their 20s. That's an opportunity, though, right? It's an opportunity. Families with young kids. We're starting to see some more families with young kids coming to our church. That's great, but we live in a community where it's full of families with young kids. That's why you move to Westerville. You move to Westerville to have a family, generally speaking. And families with teens, it's the same way. We don't have a lot of teens. We're starting to have some teens because these kids are growing up, right? And that's going to continue to happen. But there's opportunity there. I'm just pointing this out as opportunity. This is something we can think about and pray about and begin to strategize with. These are the folks that we want to reach. There are always vulnerable, needy people who easily slip through the cracks. There's all kinds of people in our culture, whether it be older people. Our culture doesn't like old people. Do you know that? We like young people. We don't like older people. But older people are people, right? We want to minister to them too. There are people that, you know, kind of on the fringe of society, you know, maybe like immigrants, people that are kind of poor and needy, you know. Some of these people, for some churches, it's kind of difficult to minister to some of these people. We need to figure out ways that we can do that. Can we minister to people who aren't very attractive for whatever reason? They're needy, poor, whatever. There's a ton of those kinds of people out there. I don't see a lot of churches targeting those people. I mean, who are the people we really want in church? We want that young family with the kids, you know. But what about the widow? You know, there's lots of other people too that we can minister to. There may be people out there who want something deeper and more intimate than big church can typically offer. We live in an area of big churches. There are a lot of large churches here in this area. Some people love large churches, okay? But not everybody does. There may be people, and I've had people come to Northside and say, I was at a big church and now I want to come to Northside because I want something different. I want more intimate relationships. I want something deeper from the pulpit. Okay? And that's not necessarily a criticism of every big church, but it's an opportunity as well for us. We're not a big church. We don't even have a big building. This is a small building. We can be ashamed of that, I guess, and say, oh, wish we were a big church, Or we can lean into that and say, maybe there's opportunities for us to minister. My goodness, this slide keeps advancing. And then finally, the unchurched generation. There are just tons of people out there, folks. This is the most unchurched generation America has ever had. There are tons of people out there who not only do they not go to church, they've never gone to church. Okay? Some of you who are a little bit older, you can remember when you were kids, your parents drug you to church, right? We have a whole generation of people now who were never drugged to church, never been to church. That's an opportunity, actually. We should be thinking of that as an opportunity. One of the great things, I've had the opportunity to talk to a couple families that have come to Northside who have not been to church, really not been to church before. And the great thing about it is they don't have any expectations. It's great. Most of the time when people come in the door and they're church people and they want a certain kind of music, a certain kind of sermon, a certain kind of youth, a certain kind of children's ministry, they have all these expectations. These unchurched people just come in and going, well, I'm at church, wondering what's going to happen here. That's great. I love that. What an opportunity. I'd take 12 more of those kinds of families. All right, so here's some things that the session has specifically targeted as priorities and goals for the year. 3 things that we want to do, and there's an order to this. This is prioritizing. We want to begin to think about and strategize of how we can have more of a family ministry at Northside. What this means is we have stuff for kids during the sermon. Dan does youth. We want to do that. We want to do more of that. We'd love to have a bigger youth group. We'd love to have more kids and all that. What we're really talking about here, though, family ministry, we'd like to develop some new ministries that specifically are targeted to teaching families how to be good Christian families together, like at home. Okay? Parenting. I don't know any young parents that are not worried about being parents, especially as kids start to hit teenage years, right? Marriages. We have a 50% divorce rate still in America, even in the church. 50% of marriages. Okay? How can we strengthen marriages? How can we teach people how to parent their kids? Obviously, how can we teach kids how to obey their parents at home? That's what we're talking about, family ministry. That's probably going to involve launching new types of ministries, new types of groups. We don't know exactly what that's going to look like yet, but we're thinking about it. We're strategizing about that, okay? Secondly, communications. We want to do a better job of communicating with one another. We want all of our communications with one another to be godly and encouraging. That's a part of this, to where we're lovingly talking to one another, having good interaction, that kind of communication. As leaders, we want to communicate with you better about what our priorities are and our vision is. We want to make sure that everybody knows what's going on at church so that you can be a part of it, that kind of communication. We want to communicate our vision and our values so that everybody, if you go out somewhere and you say, hey, I got a Northside church, and someone says, well, what kind of church is Northside? You ought to be able to tell them that, because we ought to be communicating that to you as leaders. And if we've done a poor job of that in the past, we want to do better. All right? We want to do better. Communications. And then finally, outreach. And I think all of us want to have more people coming to Northside. The question, of course, is how do we do that? And there's lots of ways to do that. The bottom rung, I think, of the ladder is we just need more. I think more people in our community just need to know that we're here, okay? We live in a growing community. There's lots of people everywhere, okay? Do people know we're here? Now, ATC is a fantastic way of telling the community that we're here. But beyond that, do people in our community know we're here? All the growth is happening to the north, okay? There's all kinds of new housing that's being built up in the Galena area, Sunbury area, up to the north, okay? So there's going to be a ton of growth up here in the next 5 years or so. It's already happening. Do those people, are they going to know that we're here? If they drive by, will they notice us? Maybe, maybe not. So the bottom rung is just how can we let people know that Northside Fellowship is here? We meet on Sunday mornings at 10, all of those things. That's kind of the bottom rung. That may mean that we do some marketing, we do some mailings. We don't know yet. We're strategizing about that, okay? So when I'm done, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my office. I'm going to grab a blank sheet of paper and a pen, and I'm going to come out here and I'm going to put it on that table back there where the desserts were. If any of those three things, family ministry, communications, outreach, if you think you have some really good ideas that you would like to share with me and with the leadership team about any of those, if you would like to be involved, really involved with any of those three areas, I'm going to put a sign-up sheet back there on that table when we're done, and you can sign your name on there, give me your contact information, and we'll talk, and we'll get your ideas and what we want everybody to be involved in this. This is not, none of the stuff that I'm talking about here is going to be done from the top down. I'm not going to say, all right, everybody, here's what we're going to do. Here's your marching orders. We're going to do this and this and this and this. I'm not going to do that. The session's not going to do that. Together, as a church body, we want everybody to get involved, to have ideas, to put feet and legs on this vision, okay? We want this to be a grassroots sort of thing. This is your church. You are Northside Fellowship Church. I know, Connie, it's Jesus' church, okay? It's Jesus' church. But it's also, we're a part of this particular manifestation of Jesus' church, okay? Whatever happens here, it's going to happen because of you. It's going to happen because of you. So that's the priority. That's the goals that we have. All right, so here's some of our needs. I'm almost done. Then I'll take some questions. What do we need to do? We need more covenant partners. If you don't know what a covenant partner is someone who makes a formal statement and takes vows to say, I'm going to support the ministry of this church. You also, as a covenant partner, you have the ability to become a leader. You have the ability to vote on leaders and vote on certain things. We need more people who will say, this church is my church, and I'm going to take responsibility for making its ministry happen. We need continued leadership engagement and ministry oversight. I think we're heading in this direction with the session, and we want to lean into this, that our leaders, our elders and deacons, are actually facilitating and overseeing the ministry of this church. Not just meeting as a board once a month, but actually doing ministry. We want to continue to develop the deacon role and the ministry teams, okay? This is a new thing for us. We have deacons now, okay? There may still be some ambiguity about that. We're going to have a deacons meeting either this month or next month and talk more about that role. But we want to continue to develop that role. We want more people involved in small groups. The only way you're really going to connect to people in the church, in this church, is to get into a small group. Because I know how it is on Sunday morning. Everybody's in and everybody's out, right? And we're a small church, but it's still 100 people. You know, you can't get to know everybody, 100 people, just by coming on Sunday mornings. So we want more people in small groups. All right, so in conclusion, the biggest challenge I think we face as a church, anybody that lives here can tell you this, it's a challenge of time and distraction and busyness. We are so busy. We've got so much to do. I know. That's going to be a challenge. When do we have time? I think we need to think about it this way. We can't do everything as a church. We do have limitations. We can't do everything. But we should do something to put feet and legs on our vision and to serve the Lord in our community. Everything is everyone's responsibility. It's so easy in a church to say, well, that's the pastor's job. That's why we have the pastor. Or maybe that's the elder's job. You know, everybody wants to just sort of we want a hired gun for every job, you know. Let's get a youth person. Let's get hired guns for everything. Listen, in a church this size, that's not going to happen. In a church this size, if in 5 years we have 800 people, we'll probably be able to hire some more staff. We could. As it stands right now, whatever ministry we do is going to be done grassroots. That's just the reality of it. So don't pass the buck. If you see something that needs to be done, maybe the Lord's calling you to do it. Maybe that's why you saw it. All right? So finally, do you know your gifts? Are you involved? Are you serving? Are you using your gifts in this body? That's the question I want to leave with you. All right. That's all I have to say. So are there questions, comments, or sarcastic remarks? Anyone? Bill?
Regarding the communication thing, I talked to a few people that maybe have not come for years, maybe in the last year or two, and they were aware that, and I guess it would be Sue Gale, that there's an email that like announces the Sunday things going on or other things, and
Yeah.
maybe making somehow that known.
Yeah.
They could get on that web.
Right.
How would they get on that mailing list, you know?
Yeah. For the sake, if you didn't hear that, or for the sake of the recording, we have a mailing list, an email list that Sue Gale keeps. All the announcements and everything that's going on. There's a weekly e-news email that goes out. Make sure you're on that email. If you're not on that email, please let me know, and I'll get that to Sue. Or you can just call Sue here at the office and just tell her you went on that email.
I think that might be valuable. Think about it, to say during the service, whenever we do it, and so people
Yeah.
are aware that there might be that.
Yes.
That's out there, you know. People come on Sunday that aren't here.
Yeah, we probably need to plug that more.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Questions, comments, sarcastic remarks?
I got another one.
Yeah, go ahead.
But, and we all know this though, but VBS is
Mhm.
in there too. Maybe you mentioned it and I could have faded, you know, but that's a big thing too.
Yeah, VBS is a big deal. It's coming up faster than we think it is. We're already starting to plan VBS, believe it or not. So yeah, we will need lots of volunteers. Sally?
Maybe we could have ice cream social, maybe a couple months in the summertime after the pavilion is finished,
Mm-hmm.
where we would target a neighborhood
Mm-hmm.
or an area of Delaware County or
Mhm.
wherever you figure is profitable that
Yeah.
people would come. I remember the old days at Central College, the ice cream social was a big deal in the summertime because people had time.
Yeah.
And they were outside and they would often hire a band or the singing Buckeyes or some kind of performance just for fun. And the level of entertainment was pretty low sometimes, but it was gathering and
Yeah.
ice cream, of course.
Yeah, okay, so if you didn't hear that, for the recording, Sally's suggestion is once we get our pavilion built, we should have an ice cream social, maybe with some music or something, and then invite the neighborhood. That's a great idea. Those are fantastic ideas that we will definitely entertain. And I like ice cream. Who doesn't like ice cream? So, yeah, ice cream social.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, Kathy.
I love our mission work. I love how we have such a strong reach. As personally, part of this church, I would like for us to see us take care of our own backyard. Delaware County has a lot of needs. We are the fastest growing
Yeah.
county east of the Mississippi, and they have a lot of needs.
Mm.
I would like to see if there's any opportunities out
Okay.
there that our church could administer in Delaware.
In Delaware County. All right.
To me, my thought is, I want to draw them to my church.
Yeah.
And if they're in my backyard, I have a better chance of drawing them to my
Mhm.
church, or with partnership with them, whether it's BBS or whatever,
Yeah.
than what it would be further down in Franklin County.
Sure.
So that's just a suggestion I would like to see.
Yeah.
Would like to see our church do, is help our backyard with Delaware County.
Okay.
I love what they're doing in Franklin, don't get me
Sure.
wrong, I love it, there's so much.
Yeah.
We can't, we can't save them all,
Yeah.
but there's a lot of needs right here in
Yeah.
Delaware County.
All right, so Kathy's comment was that we need to find some ways to reach out to the Delaware County community because this church is in Delaware County. Delaware County is one of the fastest growing counties in the country right now, so there's a lot happening. So we need to strategize about how we can find some ways to reach out specifically to our own backyard of Delaware County. That's absolutely true. Yeah, Chris.
Just to throw an idea out there, one thing we could do is order people on social media. Right?
Yeah.
When you come in on Sundays, do a check-in.
Mm.
Check in inside. Here's the URL if you want to watch it online.
Yeah.
Great series going on about the sermons and whatnot. And just an easy way to kind of get advertising out there.
Okay.
People you know, it's wider. I mean, you have families out of town or what have you.
Yeah. So Chris is a techie, by the way. So he's suggesting that we use more of our technology, such as social media, to advertise our church and to get people to notice us online and the social media. Is that correct?
Yeah, you do a check-in. And
Right.
see that you checked in. And talk
Okay.
a little bit about it. Share the link. So
Right.
people can watch it online if need be. It
Okay.
kind of gets that awareness out there.
Right. Yeah, we definitely need to leverage the technology, and that's something that's there. Yes. Yeah. Anybody else?
We could have pickup service too. If you're looking for some older people or even somebody who doesn't like to drive.
You mean like a church bus?
Not exactly. I was just thinking of neighbors picking up a couple more people.
Okay, yeah. So another suggestion is having a pickup service, maybe for folks that can't drive, having some folks that have maybe a ministry in that area to go pick some folks up. That's a good idea. That's true. What's that?
In the neighborhoods, let's go to them.
Yeah.
Go up and take them on to church.
Well, I drove school buses for 5 years, but any other questions or comments? Those are all good ideas. And like I said, as soon as we're done, I'm going to go get a piece of paper and put it up here. And those 3 areas, remember those 3 areas, I'll write those down. And if you have more ideas to share, please let me know what those are. Bill?
Okay, I figure I've talked twice, so I got one more shot.
Okay.
Thank you, Jason, that you, as you mentioned in the priorities or our mission statements, that you bring Christ, you bring the Bible, you bring the Word, and you bring Jesus in weekly. I think I encourage you to keep doing that. I think we gotta do that,
Yeah.
Because it's easy to talk about, well, Jesus is love and, just religious things. So I appreciate that, and I encourage you to keep doing that.
Thank you. I'll freely admit, you guys, I don't have all the answers to, how to make this into a bigger church or whatever. I don't have all the answers to it. And I don't even want to try to come up with all the answers, because I think that's something that we should all be doing together. And of course, the leaders, the session will have ideas, the deacons will have ideas, but still, all of us are a part of this. If we need to come together and start praying together and talking together about what the Lord might be leading us to do, to put legs and feet on our mission and on our vision. And we're not in charge of outcomes either. You can witness to someone all day long. If the Holy Spirit's not working, if that person's not willing, we're not in charge of that outcome. We're just in charge of spreading the seed. So, Emily?
I just think it's really important when we're thinking about adding to our numbers.
Yeah,
We don't add to our numbers.
right.
We could come up with 20 things to do.
Right.
To add to our numbers, but biblically,
That's right.
it's the Lord.
That's
who
right.
adds to their numbers.
Yes.
Who increases our numbers.
Yes.
So I feel like our priority isn't necessarily
Yeah.
to make ourselves known.
Right.
It is to worship Jesus.
Mhm.
And in such a way that he adds to our numbers daily.
Oh, absolutely.
Because of what's going on
Yeah.
here in terms of our relationship with him.
Yes.
So, I just think we can get very, become so much a part of the world, try to think of the ways that we can add to our numbers, but
Yeah.
we have to keep coming back. In Scripture, God added to their numbers daily.
Right.
When the church was being birthed, God was adding to
Yeah.
their numbers daily because they were doing the things
Right.
that they needed to be doing in terms of worship of Him.
Yes. Yeah. That's a good reminder for us. Emily was, if you didn't hear that, Emily was just saying we can struggle and we can work and do all kinds of things to try to grow our church, but it's actually the Lord who adds to the church. And that, you're quoting Acts 2. That's literally what it says about the early church. It says the Lord added to their number daily those who were being saved. And so that's a great reminder. And it's not my intention for us to like get a whip out and really drive everybody to do all these different things. We want to do something to try to minister to people. We want to reach out and be obedient to the Lord. But you're right. Even with all the best efforts that we might come up with, it's the Lord who adds to the church. And we've already seen that it's already kind of happening, folks. I mean, there are folks coming into our church. I mean, I've seen lots of new faces here. New people have come in and been added this past year. Some of them, it's like, where did you come from? It's like there was two gentlemen that came in he was a Boy Scout 25 years ago. And that's when they were here, and now they're back, And God can work in all kinds of strange ways to bring people into our congregation. So you're right. We've got to go at it with that knowledge that no matter what we do, it's the Lord's work that actually gets it done. Yeah.
And just staying in a posture of asking God.
Yes.
Maintaining a posture of what, we want for you to add to our numbers.
Yeah.
We want to be aligned with what what
Yes.
is it that you require of us to
Yes.
feel good about bringing more here?
Right.
How can we honor you in such a way?
Right.
Is it continually keeping him at the forefront of all of that?
Yes. And that's where prayer comes in and listening to the Lord. The Lord may have specific things that he wants us to do. And what we need to be doing is listening. And somebody may come up and say, it's like what happened in the early church. God wanted Paul to go out to the Gentiles. And the Holy Spirit actually said that to the Christians as they were gathered praying. So those kinds of things can happen. Nancy.
This may seem far out, but what causes people to go to some churches in mass and other people's not? My daughter is Catholic. They have 3 masses a weekend. They get 1,000 people each time. Is it the Catholic religion? Is it what goes on there? What is it? What causes them to go to a certain church?
Uh-huh.
You can drive down the street, you can see people coming out of a church by the hundreds. Why?
Yeah.
What would happen if somebody from this church went with a clipboard
Yeah.
and sat in the service and said, what makes you go here?
Mm.
What draws you? What are your programs
Yeah.
that cause you to want to be here?
Yeah.
By the hundreds.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Absolutely.
What is it that makes them want to be there? I mean,
Yeah.
with all the terrible snow, my daughter said, that she goes every week, there wasn't a Sunday that people weren't packed
Yeah.
in that service.
Yeah.
Why?
Well, I think for everybody, the question is what is it that draws people to a particular congregation or church? I think a large part of that answer, and I don't think there's any one thing, okay? But I think a large part of that answer, Nancy, it's a great question. I think it's the quality of the community. I think what is church? Church is a community. It's a community of people. It's a fellowship. It's like a family. There's a community dynamic that can draw people. Okay? Now there are some churches that have some, incredibly gifted preacher or something like that draws people, that sort of thing. Let's go hear the pastor so-and-so preach, that sort of thing. But Catholic Church, that's not really what they do. I mean, and that's the same thing. So what is it? It's community. It's community. There are communities that are magnetic communities. The church in Acts 2, I think, was that. You look at Acts 2, the early church, they were a growing magnetic community. You couldn't send them home. It says they met every single day. You couldn't get them to go home in that early community. They just loved being together. And I think that's what does it. I think that's what does it.
I want to tell you something else. Why am I here?
Yeah. Well, preaching is definitely hugely important. Hugely important.
People as well.
Yeah.
And I saw this church, no one drew me here except the Lord.
Yeah.
I came here and I said, if this isn't it, I'm done looking.
Mm.
I can't keep running
Yeah.
my church again with the stuff that's coming out, it's just unbelievable.
Mm.
And I love it here.
Good. Well, thank you for sharing that. Thank you. It's almost 1 o'clock. I'm not going to keep you past 1 o'clock. So let's wrap this up. Again, I'm going to run back to my office, get a piece of paper for you to sign up on if you have any specific ideas about those things. Thanks for staying. Thanks for coming to this. God bless you. Have a great week.